Lau v. Nichols, the Supreme Court decision that guaranteed all children, regardless of their language and background, the right to a meaningful education. The San Francisco Unified School District was integrated due to a decree made by the federal court. Non-English speaking Chinese students were integrated into classrooms with English speakers in which they were being taught in a language they did not understand. Soon thereafter, the district court found that there were approximately 2,800 Chinese ancestry students in the school system who did not speak English. 1,800 of those students did not receive any supplemental English instruction. Non-English speaking Chinese students, their families, and teachers believed that the school district was failing to provide students with instruction when they needed it. The San Francisco Unified School District was integrated due to a decree made by the federal court. Non-English speaking Chinese students were integrated into classrooms with English speakers in which they were being taught in a language they did not understand. Soon thereafter, the district court found that there were approximately. For years, protests by language minority communities sought better education for their children. Federal officials finally began to feel the pressure and directed school districts to respond to limited English proficiency students' needs. However, due to the California Education Code stating that English shall be the basic language of instruction in all schools, districts took it upon themselves to determine if and when they would provide said bilingual instruction. Therefore, the argument was that they were not in violation of any codes or amendments by only providing a certain number of students with bilingual instruction. Immediately, the United States District Court of Northern California filed in favor of the San Francisco Unified School District, refusing to order the San Francisco Unified School District to accommodate the educational needs of their students. Lower courts had absolved the San Francisco School District of any responsibility for minority children's lack of English. Mr. Thomas M. O'Connor argued for Nichols, the president of the Board of Education, and the San Francisco Unified School District, stating that they did not see it as the school district's responsibility to provide these students with English language instruction, because every student comes to school with different advantages and disadvantages, created apart from any contributions by the school system. Mr. O'Connor also argued that the San Francisco Unified School District had attempted to reach all students, but simply did not have the resources to do so. A lack of budget, as well as teachers, was the biggest issue. Justice Douglas, author of the unanimous Supreme Court opinion in favor of Lau, quoted Senator Hubert Humphrey, stating, "Simple justice requires that all public funds, to which all taxpayers of all races contribute, not be spent in any fashion which encourages, entrenches, subsidizes, or results in racial discrimination, therefore meaning that the children of the San Francisco Unified School District shall no longer be blamed for what had previously been seen as a language deficiency." In 1973, a petition was filed because of the public importance of the case at hand, and was granted on June 11th. On the 21st of January, 1974, the Supreme Court reversed the previous rulings. The court noted that there is no equality of treatment merely by providing students with the same facilities, textbooks, teachers, and curriculum, for students who do not understand English are effectively foreclosed from any meaningful education. Basic English skills are at the very core of what these public schools teach. Imposition of a requirement that, before a child can effectively participate in the educational program, he must already have acquired those basic skills is to make a mockery of public education. We know that those who do not understand English are certain to find their classroom experiences wholly incomprehensible and in no way meaningful. ELLs need English language instruction that they can acquire while still progressing academically. Those who were for the decision stated that the 14th Amendment was being violated. The San Francisco Unified School District also received funds from federal financial assistance, and because of those funds, was required to make sure all students were given the opportunity to obtain an education. The guidelines became more specific, stating that school districts which received funds had to rectify the language deficiency in order to continue to run. It was stated that those arguing for Lao did not believe that the district and its respondents intentionally contributed to the inadequacy, but that they only failed to respond to changing social and linguistic patterns.
As a result of the Lau v. Nichols ruling, the Lau remedies were created. They led to the expansion of Title VI enforcement under the Ford and Carter administrations. The Lau remedies were developed to provide Office of Civil Rights guidelines for compliance. They specified procedures for identifying language minority students and assessing their English language proficiency, determining appropriate instructional treatments, deciding when students were ready for mainstream or grade-level classes, and determining the professional standards expected of teachers of language minority students. The Lau remedies strongly encourage school districts to implement bilingual education wherever feasible. For example, in each school district that had at least 20 students of limited English proficiency who spoke the same primary language. Schools were required to provide ESL services along with academic content taught through the student's strongest language until students reached sufficient proficiency in English to experience success in monolingual English classes. These guidelines redefine bilingual education to include bilingual and bicultural program models that go beyond transitional programs to provide ongoing bilingual and bicultural instruction after students are proficient in English. The Lau remedies represented a new level of federal requirements where none had previously existed. School districts were now required to demonstrate that they had some kind of effective educational program for students of limited English proficiency. If a school district were found to be out of compliance, it would be threatened with loss of federal funds. The Lau remedies were never published in the Federal Register, and after a court decision questioned their enforceability, a new set of Lau regulations were proposed in August of 1980. These regulations specified identification and assessment procedures and proposed alternative methods of instructions for limited English proficiency students, such as transitional, maintenance, or two-way models of bilingual education and ESL for low-incidence language groups. The Lau regulations were withdrawn as a result of the presidential election. They were criticized for being too specific, whereas the Lau remedies were criticized for being too vague. After the Lau ruling, with the help of Chinese for Affirmative Action and the Association of Chinese Teachers, teachers were trained in bilingual education, and programs began in schools across San Francisco. It has been reported that for a language minority student, it takes 7 years for him or her to feel proficient in the English language. The Lau ruling influenced the 3 goals of English language learner programs. They are to improve students' English language proficiency, to provide core curriculum in the students' primary languages, and to maintain students' cultural identity. These goals validate and reinforce the importance of maintaining the students' primary language and culture by allowing them to continue learning in both their primary language as well as increasing their proficiency within the English language. For language minority students, these goals also help increase student self-concept and self-confidence, which for many language minority students can be low prior to increasing their English language proficiency. The implementation of ELL and bilingual education programs across the country means that for language minority students, their education can continue despite English language barriers. Today, ELL programs across the country allow students to successfully be multilingual and multicultural.